Okay, we left off Yutes Amud Aleph. Okay, we left off Yutes. It's about 15 lines from the bottom. We had said that if a person has a red letter, and on Shabbos he takes black ink and he traces the red letter with black ink, so he's in violation of what? Mochek, because he's obliterating the red letter, and he's in violation of writing because the black letter is in place. So one action, he has a double liability: Mochek and Kosef. That's what the Gemara said. Chayv Shtayim. The Gemara says in Shabbos. Again, this is all review for some of you, if you remember. Otherwise, it's like learning it the first time. The Gemara says that Zomer v'tzorch leitzim. A person prunes a tree and he has an interest in the wood. He's chayv shtayim. So you're doing one action, but you have a double liability. Zomer is noteya, because when you prune a tree, when it needs pruning, you're enhancing its growth. And also, you're in violation of kotzer, reaping. So one action, you have a double liability. So here also, he's obliterating the original letter, and simultaneously he's writing a better quality letter, which is the black letter. Chayv Shtayim. Okay? Boimini Rishloch Reb Yochanan.
First of we'd learned that Mochek was where you do an erasing for the purpose of preparing the writing.
So here, the same thing. The erasing, well, the way Tosas explained, when you put the black letter on top of the red, the black letter is even more enhanced. It's more enhanced.
But you really haven't erased.
The red letter doesn't exist any longer.
It does exist. It's just underneath. You haven't erased. I mean, erasing, I've always thought it was like the scratch.
Well, let's talk. What about something similar? What's choresh? Choresh is plowing. What is plowing? It's the preparatory stage for planting. Okay? So there's a miri we had in Shabbos. Again, there's a review a little bit. That the miri cites Yerushalmi. What happens if you have a field that has it's marsh? You can't cultivate it. So what did they do in the old days? They would torch the field. They would burn everything off the surface. And so what are you in violation of? So the Yerushalmi says that you're in violation of choresh, although you didn't turn over the ground. Because what is choresh? The preparatory stage for planting. So whatever that may be, that's mochi means literally physically erasing. So David said, well, but the letter is under the black letter. Doesn't make a difference. But for all intents and purposes, it doesn't exist any longer. It's not like you put a tape over it. You know, it's interesting. In 48, they sent enormous amount of Sifrei Torah to Eretz Yisrael. If you remember, I'm not sure from Israel what shipping lines went, but from the United States they had Zim lines. Zim. Remember Zim lines? No, but then it was an Israeli shipping. People, they would travel to Israel, they would travel on Zim lines. So they had no Sifrei Torah in Israel. You had all the people coming over, they had endless communities developing, they had no Sifrei Torah. So they sent literally hundreds and thousands of Sifrei Torah from the United States to Israel for the communities. Now the question is, where do you store them? So they would put it in the hold in the ship. They'd be on the floor, just piled up. It's disrespectful. So what they did, there was a whole question. So they took a piece of cloth. It's a weak leniency, and they taped it over the letter. So by taping to invalidate any of the letters, to invalidate it, let's say you would actually scratch off one of the letters. It's puzzle. So postal Sefer Torah, you don't have to conduct yourself with the same level of respect as a kosher Sefer Torah. But you're not permitted to postal a Sefer Torah. You're not permitted to invalidate it. So they took like a piece of cloth and they taped it over, let's say, one of the letters, and therefore it's as if it couldn't be read. So that was like a semi-invalidation.
Still not respectful, though. Still Sefer Torah.
But they had no choice. You want to minimize the disrespect. I mean, the Mishnah says in Brochos that if you're riding on a donkey and you have a Sefer Torah, you should hold it. What about if you're fleeing from bandits? You even permit to sit on the Sefer Torah. You have no choice. You have no choice. It's not a disrespect. It's when you have an alternative. You could be doing more respectful, doing not more respectful. That's considered disrespect. So here they did that. But you see, the letter existed under the cloth, but there it did exist. It wasn't attached to it. Here we're talking when you attach that black ink, even though chemically you may be able to dissolve the black ink and restore the red ink, but for all intents and purposes, unless you have that ability, the red letter doesn't exist any longer. It doesn't exist. It's a black letter, and not only according to Tosas, when you write a black letter on top of red letter, the black letter is even a more enhanced letter. The red letter enhances the way it radiates. It's a different level of black.
More reason.
It's just the opposite. That's it's preparatory. So covering it, putting it out of existence.
I would say the opposite.
Primer on
I
a
would
wall.
say that it's not erased. For sure, it is actually continuing to contribute in a positive way.
Doesn't make a difference.
That's not erased.
Could I ask you a question? No. But the letter doesn't exist as a letter. The red letter doesn't exist as a red letter. It's an undercoating. Before it existed as a letter. Now it exists as an undercoating. It's like priming a wall, then painting the wall.
That's exactly right.
No.
I would say the priming isn't erasing.
Priming is the preparation for the painting.
That's exactly right.
And that's exactly what mochik is. Mochik is preparing the writing surface for the ultimate writing. That's what mochik is.
Then erasing is the wrong.
No, but it's mochik al nas lichtov. That's the classification, right? Constructive erasure, like sosar al nas livnos. Destroying a building to prepare a building site to put up another building.
One would never describe priming a wall as erasing.
Because you're not erasing anything there.
That's exactly.
No, but but the whole concept mochi al nas lich. What do you need al nas lichtov? You have kore al nas lit for. You cut a piece of material to be able to sew it properly. So even though you just look at that, if you don't understand what you're doing, it's a destructive act, right? But because it's al manas lit for, it's in preparation to sew. Therefore, the cutting is constructive rather than destructive. Same thing. You destroy a building, demolish a building, because you want to put up another building on the site. So you've destroyed the building. That's makalkel. It's destructive act. No, that's constructive because it's in preparation of the new building, preparing the building site. Okay? Rish Lakish posed the question to Rabbi Yochanan. Eidim she'en yodim lachtom. Witnesses who don't know how to sign their names. Mal sheyichtov lehem b'sikro. Interesting. So write the letter, let's say the letters of the name in red ink. V'yachtom ksav elyon. V'yachtomu. And they'll cover it with what? With black ink. Right? Like regarding Shabbos. So which is the letter? The letter is what? Is the black letter. So the outline should be what should be red ink. And they'll trace the red ink with black ink for a get. Is that a proper writing? Is that considered the witness's signature? Ernie, here to Shiloh. What's the question? Ksav Elyon Ksav. The second writing, the writing on the red letters, is that considered you've written? Owen Ksav. Or is it not considered writing? It's the original letters there. It's called an enhancement of the first letter. Omalein Uksav. So Rabbi Yochanan says to Rish Lakish, his Talmud, it's not. You're not able to do it. Omalei. So Rish Lakish says to his Rebbe, Halo Libriteni Rabbeinu Ksav Elyon Ksav Linyan Shabbos. You've ruled that regarding Shabbos, that if you have a red letter and you go and you trace it with black ink, it's considered you're obliterating and you're writing. You're liable for two chatos. So if you're in violation of Shabbos, it's called a ksav. So it should be considered writing regard to the get. So why are you saying it's not a ksav? Seems it's contradictory.
You say to make the get stand, so that witnesses come say, I recognize the signature. Now, if it's not the signature, meaning the style, the way they sign their name, and they're just copying somebody else, the way somebody wrote their name, how are you going to recognize their signature? They're just tracing what somebody else, it's not their signature. They wrote the letters and somebody else wrote for them in their own style.
Man can't write, he doesn't have a signature to be recognized.
I understand. So how can you recognize their signature? It's not their signature.
Wait a second, let's talk. I mean, the question doesn't begin. Again, why do you have to substantiate a document? Because it may be a forgery. These people, they don't know how to write, right? You write the letter in red, which is the outline. The person is going to trace it in black. He does this before the Bezdin. The only reason why you have to substantiate because it may be a forgery. You don't have to recognize the signature to be a signature. You have to recognize the signature that's not a forgery. But if I know this is an authentic signature because he wrote the letter, begins and ends with that. The court knows this is an authentic signature.
He lives in a different town.
You don't have to. The court already, it's called the henpick. You have a certification of the court on the document. This is an authentic document.
It's the henpick that makes the get stand. And
No, the henpick only tells us that it's not a forgery.
It's just,
Okay?
the henpick's husband.
Okay. If it's considered you've written on the Shabbos, that means that's called you've written. So if you've written to be liable for chatos, it shouldn't be considered you've written regarding, you put your signature on it, you wrote your signature on the document. Goes hand in hand. But we'll see Rabbi Yochanan's answer. No, he doesn't answer that. Rabbi Yochanan is going to answer Rish Lakish in a moment. There's a, what's his name? There's a halacha, what's writing? There are two types of writing. There's a writing called chok tochos and tocho urechos. We're going to have this in Hilchos Tefillin. What happens if you have a blotch of ink? The Russian Shabbos speaks about this. And you go and you scrape away the black ink and you let's say you form a base. Right? You scraped away the inner part of this blotch, and by scraping the ink, a base develops. Did you write the base? You've never written it. By removing the ink in a certain way, the base, originally this ink, how did it come on the page? It was just a blotch. You chipped away, or you scratched away certain parts of that, the letter developed.
Even if your intention is to write the base?
You've never written it. That's not called writing. Writing means you have to write the letter. Okay? We're going to have in Hilchos Tefillin, let's say you have two letters, they touch. And when they touch, they appear to look like different letters. Right? And when you separate them, now they identify as the two letters what they're supposed to be. So in Tefillin, there's a halacha, it has to be kesidron. When you write it, it has to be written in order. Let's say a person wrote Tefillin and he left out a word, now you want to insert the word. It's not valid. In the Sefer Torah it is valid, but for mezuzah and Tefillin it's not valid. So let's say two letters were touching, and now the two letters, when they touch, they appear to be, they take on another form. Doesn't look like the letters. And now, by separating them, now each letter is going to appear to be as they're supposed to be. Tefillin apostle. Why? The apostle.
Unless you did it right away before you wrote it on the
Terrific, terrific. Right? You can't open the door unless you put the key in the lock. Okay? It's understood. So now, what's the reason? Because over there, how did the letters now take on the status of the letters? By scratching away the ink. So you didn't write all those letters. It's similar to you have a blotch of ink, and by chipping away the ink, the letter forms. That's called chok tochos. It's not valid. And we've shown them.
What is that word translated?
Chok, it's by chok means by scraping it away, it came about. Urechos means, the yorech means like the thigh, you formed the actual letter itself. Chok urechos, that's called writing. You wrote the letter. Tochos means it's only as a result of removal it came about.
So technically you have to take up the whole word and start again.
No, but if you went beyond it, you can't go back. You could go back only if you didn't write the Shem Hashem.
Right, but a regular word, not Shem Hashem.
No. But let's say you wrote 6 words after the word where the two letters were touching.
Right.
So the only way you could validate that means all the letters that followed, you have to erase. So let's say one of the words is Yud Kei Vav Kei. You can't erase it. That's Mechikas Hashem. You have to put it in Shemus.
Wow, the whole film.
Let's say it's that parchment. That parchment has to be put in Shemus. It doesn't make, even if you write over it, but it's still not written in consecutive order. Because the words that follow were written after this word that you...
From there on, you go all the way forward.
What does it help you? Understand? Two letters were touching earlier.
So you separate them. Now you go back to before, and you overwrite everything going forward to the rest.
But first of all, if it's black on black, that's not called writing that we had before. Right? It's only, the whole discussion is black on red. Because black is obliterating, right? That's the whole discussion over here.
So are we saying with Rabbi Yochanan that any document that is signed in this fashion is no good?
Would not be considered signed. It's not, because he didn't put a
So
signature.
it's not just a halacha in get. It goes to any document this way.
Correct.
Any contract.
Correct. Exactly. You haven't written. He hasn't put a signature down. And so he asked him, but we just finished saying regarding Shabbos, if you write, you trace a black with blacking on redding, that's considered writing. Yet you're liable for 2 chatos. So how do you reconcile the two? Right?
What's the reason why he says it's not right?
Well, we'll see in a moment. Did you hear David's question before? It wasn't so simple. That is writing. Because factually, simultaneously, the red letter enhances the black letter. So maybe the red letter does exist. Even though visually you can't see it, but factually it's contributing to the letter that you put on top of it. So it's interplaying simultaneously. So maybe that's an enhancement like black on black, even though you're freshening the original letter with the new letter, but that's called one letter, because that's called an enhancement.
When you look at the pay inside the Sefer Torah, inside the pay, let's say the pay is black ink, inside the pay looks like a face in white. So, right, next time you look at the Sefer Torah, you see. So if the Sefer writes a pay, and inevitably it's creating an inside the white is pay, is that 2 letters he's creating into one?
Okay, let's get back on track.
Yeah, I'll look in Rashi.
Okay. Okay. Stick to the henpeck. Okay. Can you write the letters in red ink? And they'll sign with black ink on the red ink. He says it's not considered writing. They haven't written. You said that if you write with a black, you trace with black ink on red, it is considered writing. So Rashi says, he says, because based on our estimation, we had said it seems to be considered writing. To be machmir. Are we going to actually act and rule when it's applicable? Now, what's the halacha if a person's not liable for chag? If a person wants to donate consecrated shlomim, although he has no obligation, it's a valid consecration. An olah, it's valid. But a person wants to consecrate a chatos, and he's not liable for a chatos. You can't. You're not able to. So if over here it's not considered a violation of Shabbos, and he would say this should be a chatos, and he brings it, what are you bringing? You bring chulin ba'zorah. It's chulin. You're sacrificing an animal that's not non-consecrated animal. So he says, b'chinase maseh. Just because we said theoretically he should be liable for 2, do you think if it would actually applicable? Do you think I would allow a person to bring an animal? Definitely not. Lo you see somech al dvori. I would not rely on what I had said, which is only considering it. He may be bringing a non-consecrated animal to the Azorah, into the sanctuary. It's a Torah violation. You know, it's good we could talk theoretics. But when it comes in reality, the application, it's not simple. So then we're going to get, is it ksav or not? We'd have to be machmir. Just as if the Beis Mishnah would stand, I would not allow the person to bring a korban, because it may be not accurate what I'm saying, and therefore would be chum azora. In fact, it's not a ksav, then it has no signature. It's not the signature of the witnesses.
It's machmer with the Shabbos.
It's lahachmir. Chayv shtayim is only to bring out the possibility of how severe it could be.
So you can't
Is it
machmer.
reality that? Maybe not.
How's it machmer with the get?
Mahmoud, it means you should not allow them to sign. The chumrah is that it's not valid.
Not valid as chumrah.
By Shabbos, the chumrah is that you should not put the black letter on top.
Correct.
By
Right.
get is that you should not rely on it to validate the signature, because it may not be a signature.
And therefore, she may be an Asian.
You haven't given her a get.
It's a problem.
It's a problem.
It's chumrah both ways.
Correct.
This answer undermines what we have said up to now. We said if you should take black and overwrite red, he's chayiv shtaim.
Wait a second.
There wasn't any question.
David
made.
understands Rabbi Yochanan's words exactly the way Rish Lakish understood Rabbi Yochanan's words.
I'm reading the Gemara just...
No. So that's Rish Lakish's question. But Rebbe, you taught us this. He says, when I taught it, it wasn't for actually to be applied. It seems to be that's the way it should be. That's what I meant. That's what he's going to...
Then he was
Wasn't
very
black and white.
ambiguous, because if you took his words literally, you would have required the man to bring the fatos.
Yeah, but since it's not B'smash B'smikdash Kayom, it's not a time when the Beis Mikdash exists. Therefore, it would seem to be, look, when the Beis Mikdash exists, we'll have, Tishbi Yitar Kushash Bayos. We have Elio there.
But that's... we don't see any of that. Now we're...
Okay? That's why if you have a Talmud like Rabbi Yochanan, like Rish Lakish, he brings it to light. Okay? So he's clarifying, elucidating what his Rebbe meant by asking the question.
I mean, if we didn't have this second piece here...
You would draw the same thing.
Temple came tomorrow, and this came before us. We would rule. The Gemara says clearly...
You would say the get is a get?
Bring two.
No. Based on that, you would say, as Rish Lakish posed the question. Let me ask you a question. Why did Rish Lakish ask the question again? It's obvious. Rish Lakish was a smart man. Right? He could rule himself. His Rebbe said, Chayiv Shtayim. What about regarding get? If it's considered writing for Shabbos, definitely it's considered a signature. What even posed the question to his Rebbe? What do you mean? Because because he himself was in doubt. Was Rebbe said it? He'd say it with definiteness, or may have been, maybe not. Otherwise, why ask the question? It's obvious, right? So you see, it's not so simple. He didn't take it face value, because if he took it face value, then of course the signature is a valid signature, writing, tracing, blacking, or reading.
Right. Black on black is definitely writing.
This is definitely not writing. Not writing.
Not writing.
Those is going to ask you a question, very interesting question. What happens if a get was written shlo lishmo with blanking, and you trace it over with blacking, and you write lishmo? Is it valid? The Gemara says later it's valid. So Tosas asked, but we said blacking or black, where it's an only enhancement, it's not called writing. So why, if the original the text was not written lishmo, so why when you trace it and you freshen up the letters with the second coat, why is that called lishmo? Because it's not writing. So, right?
The old carbon paper that had the blue ink.
What? Well, we'll see Tosas. So Tosas answers something similar to that. When you regarding Shabbos, what is the provision? Forming the letter. So the second letter is not really adding anything to the first letter, right? It's not.
Same letter.
It's the same letter. Regarding a get, if a get is written, the text is written shlo lishmo, it has no value, that text. So by covering it with the writing, although it's the same, you're just tracing it. But since you're infusing it with something which it's lacking, that gives the second writing value. Shabbos, the second value, what's its value? You're not permitted to write. It's written. That you're freshening, you're enhancing it, that's not sufficient to be in violation of writing.
Still grounds that why didn't Rabbi Yochanan say take in the first one? It's Shabbos.
It's not teku. It's not teku. It's not teku. He's not waiting for Leo. I just said that. He's not waiting for Leo. It's not teku.
If it's not teku and it's definite...
He didn't say definite. Sometimes you say, la halacha v'lo l'maaseh, the Gemara says. Halachically speaking, probably that would be, but in actuality, you should be machmir. You shouldn't act on what I say.
But now the question is, do you bring the fatos too or not? This is not...
So Rabbi Yochanan said if the Beis Mikdash would exist, that he wouldn't allow chatos to be brought. He would not allow it.
He would not allow it.
Because it would be chul lazora. It would be the equivalent
It
bringing.
may be.
Yeah, since it may be, therefore he would not allow it. Therefore, he would not allow it.
Okay, so then...
So if he would not allow it, so you wouldn't value this writing as a writing because it may not be a signature.
Why didn't he state his position more clearly in the first place?
Okay.
If that is the case, why didn't he state it clearly? That's a big difference. He stated it in a way that you've come away from that.
Let me give you an example. Let me tell you the way it works. A person says, in the regel, people used to gather to come hear shurim. Who said the shurim? The leading sages of generation. What was the value of that lecture? It was definitive halacha, how people should conduct themselves. That's what they came to hear. In that context, anything that's said is halacha. When you talk in a beis medrash and you discuss subject matters, although you say things, it doesn't mean practical halacha. It would seem to be. It's not definitive. It's not definitive. So that's what he asked his Rebbe. What we discussed, was it definitive, or was only it seems it should be that way, based on the logical approach. So that's what he said. It was not definitive. It was based. He's just clarifying what he meant, because it wasn't the context of giving a final rule. If you would ask Rabbi Yochanan the Shaydel Halacha, am I chayiv 2 chatos? And he said yes, that's definitive. No. Okay, let's go further.
But Rabbi Yochanan is really saying that he's not sure whether that's writing or not. That's why he's mouth.
1 second. Let's take a look at this Tosas here. Dio agabe dio, potur. Rabbi Yochanan says when you write a black letter, on a black letter, you potur. Right? That wasn't even a question.
For erasing.
You're not erasing. That's called enhancing. Okay? Tema. You know, when Tosas uses different terminologies. You could say v'koshe, v'im tomar, to express a question. Tema, it's like a wonder. You're taking it back. Da'ocha mashma, the dio agabe dio lo klumu. Linyan Shabbos. It's considered you've done nothing on a Torah level regarding Shabbos. Ernie, you see Tosas? V'adin linyan get, and the same thing would be true in regard to get. The medami b'somuch the Shabbos. Because we're equating Shabbos to get. It's one and the same. Even violation of Shabbos, definitely it would be considered writing. And if you're not, then definitely it's not considered writing. Correct? We're equating the two, one to the other. Umashma d'lekamad polik. It seems to be what Rabbi Yochanan says. Nobody's arguing on this fact. They go hand in hand. Ulakaman amina kosvu shlo lishmo. The Gemara says later that if a person had written the get, not lishmo, not for this particular couple. The hever of kulmis lishmo. And he took the quill and he traced the letters over again with black ink and had in mind for this particular couple, for Reuven and Leah. Wait a second. What is he doing? No, of course, it has to be writing. Of course it has to be, yes. So there is an opinion. There's a Tano holds that it's what? That it's considered, although it's only an enhancement. Regarding Shabbos, you're not going to be in violation, but yet in regard to get, it's valid. It's only rabbinically for other shtoros not, but for get it would be valid. So we hear, according to Ravacha, everybody concurs, black ink on black ink is considered writing. Otherwise, if it would not, if it was rich shlo lishma, it should be puzzle. He says, regarding the get, that the first time he formed the letters, it was not with the proper intent. And the second writing, the tracing, he had in mind specifically for this couple. Why? Because again, what are the letters on the get? It's a get. If it's rich shlo lishma, it's just text. When you rewrite it and you're adding the intent, the letter takes on a whole different value. Shabbos, what is the violation? You're not permitted to form a letter. So the letter was formed. So when you trace it with black ink, what did you do? Nothing. So therefore you potter. But over here, that the text without the intent has no value regarding get. So when you write the second, you trace it with the intent, what are you doing? You're adding something which gives it a whole different level of meaning within the context of get. It's only an enhancement, but in regard to writing, you haven't written. Even Rebuda concurs, it's nothing. It's not a ksav. Pergabona on Shabbos, regarding Shabbos. It's nothing.
Even if you had intent on Shabbos for some reason.
What intent did you have?
Whatever. Any doctrine he has intent to.
See, he's
He
asking.
writes something.
No, it's interesting. What about a person? Okay, very interesting. Let's say a get. It was written Shlo Lishmo, and on Shabbos he retraced the letters Lishmo. What do you mean violation of writing?
I would say yes.
Now he made the
Creating
request
of
get.
it, because that get with Lishma is writing.
Well, it wasn't a get, now it's a get.
At least it would be market of package.
Let's say he didn't write all the letters. Let's say he wrote 50% of the get. Would it be in violation?
He wrote the get.
No, but the letters that he infused with the intent.
So it's not a valid get.
Wait a second. You know, it's very important to remember things of the past, to discuss with the present, and to link the past to the present. Because we once discussed Reb Lezer, there's an argument between Reb Lezer and the Chacham, Machshir Mila Docha Shabbos, not Docha Shabbos. Are you permitted, if a person doesn't have a scalpel, are you permitted to transport the scalpel on Shabbos to circumcise the child? Reb Lezer says yes. Reb Lezer says yes. If you have to actually forge the steel to make the knife, or cut wood to make coals, to make the knife, so you're permitted.
Unless it was a C-section.
Right? You're permitted. Because he owes machshiri mitzvah dochi. So Mar asks a question, you have a four-cornered garment here, you have a four-cornered garment, so you should be permitted to put tzitzis in the four-cornered garment on Shabbos. Right? Even though it's kosher. But again, it's machshiri mitzvah. Reb Lezer says that all machshiri mitzvah are docha Shabbos. Whatever facilitates the mitzvah, that overrides the Shabbos. No. The Gemara goes through a lulav, permitted to cut a palm branch.
Everything.
The Gemara goes through many cases. On Shabbos, according to Reb Lezer. Because he holds machshiri mitzvah docha Shabbos. If the mitzvah can be done on Shabbos, whatever is needed to facilitate the mitzvah overrides Shabbos. So you're permitted to wear a garment, a four-corner garment with tzitzis on Shabbos. So to facilitate that mitzvah, you should be permitted to tie strings into that corner, into four corners. Wait a second. You want to hear what the Gemara says? I think gives a better answer. So the Gemara says, because the boy mafkir, what would be if the person would disown the four-cornered garment? You have no obligation. It's only if it's your garment. So since he's able to circumvent the obligation by disowning the garment, therefore, that's the reason why it doesn't supersede the Shabbos. By circumcision, you have to circumcise. You have no choice.
So the others would agree to that.
So therefore, Rebbe Lezer agrees.
Unless it was a C-section. Remember what we said earlier?
Okay. Yesterday you showed up 7:25, right? Okay. So the Minchas Chinuch asks a question. We mentioned this. Minchas Chinuch asks a question. Why don't the answer more simply? The reason why it's not Docha Shabbos, what's the halacha if you make a kesher shel kayomo and you have a mind to open it within 24 hours? Right? You're not in violation of Shabbos. So over here, he says you're able to reconcile both. You tie it into the garment, you're permitted to wear it, and you fulfill the mitzvah of tzitzis, and what? And you're not in violation of Shabbos. It's only if you're not able to fill the mitzvah unless you actually violate the Shabbat. You can open the double knot. That's the Minchas question. It's not, because it's not permanent.
No, but you brought something to a finish.
So I'll tell you what they answer. Minchas doesn't answer it. The Be'er Halacha answers the question by saying that since the Torah values it as a kesher in regard to tzitzis, it's a kesher for Shabbos.
That's what I was, how does your intent change that? That which made a picture of the other, screw just something in your head. We always said that you don't speak it, you don't actualize it, it's nothing.
You know, today, when people go Galila and Mincha, right? So, years ago, when you went Galila, what you tied the Torah was with a belt. You had to make a bow, or a double bow, whatever it was. Today, you have a clasp. But years ago, and if you remember, many years, you know, or by Yekis, they have the wimple. You know the wimple. So they tuck it in. So it's never, yeah, Ernie knows this, right? Sadik Shimon knows this. Okay, they tuck it in, but what people, they would actually tie it. So there's a whole question, even a bow, leaving it for a few days, because so if you tie it, let's say, Mincha, you're first going to open it on Monday. And what happens if you don't use it safe till next week? It becomes a problem. It's a whole question. So people, Mincha, they would always tuck it in. In the morning, they would tie the bow or the double bow, but Mincha, they would be machmir. But again, what is Keshesh Kayoma? It's based on, is this going to be permanent or not permanent? This is the question. The Be'er Halacha cites a Taz. The Taz's position is Keshesh Kayoma is not based on what you created, is it going to be permanent? The Mishnah Berurah shows differently that if you make a knot which can be permanent, it's around what your intent is. They're arguing at this point. Is the intent to be continued?